The smell of ozone filled my garage as sparks erupted from the metallic surface. My welding torch shouldn't have been able to cut through it. This metal was unlike anything I'd ever seen. But somehow, impossibly, it was working. "Please," the voice behind me said again, and I nearly dropped my torch, because the being speaking to me wasn't human. His eyes, if you could call them eyes, were the color of liquid mercury, constantly shifting, reflecting not just light, but something else, something deeper. And what he was about to tell me would change everything I thought I knew about God, creation, and humanity's true purpose. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start from the beginning, because you need to understand I'm not crazy. I'm not making this up. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why they don't want you to know what I'm about to tell you.
My name is Marcus Webb. For the past 15 years, I've run a small auto repair shop in Sedona, Arizona. Yes, that Sedona, the one known for its vortexes and UFO sightings. I used to laugh at the tourists who came here seeking enlightenment or alien encounters. I was the practical one, the skeptic, who fixed their overheated rental cars while they searched the skies for meaning. That changed on September 18th, 2024, at exactly 3:33 a.m. I couldn't sleep that night. Something felt off. The air was electric, charged with an energy that made my skin prickle. My German shepherd, Moses, was pacing by the door, whining in a way I'd never heard before. Then came the sound. It wasn't a crash exactly, more like, have you ever heard a tuning fork struck underwater? That deep, resonant hum that you feel more than hear? It was like that, but magnified 1,000 times. Every window in my house vibrated. Moses started barking frantically. I grabbed my flashlight and my grandfather's old rifle. Not that I thought it would do much good against whatever was out there, but sometimes holding something familiar helps when you're walking into the unknown.
The desert behind my property stretches for miles. I've walked it countless times, know every rock formation, every cluster of juniper trees. But that night, about a quarter mile from my back fence, there was something new. At first, I thought it was a crashed experimental aircraft. The military tests all kinds of classified stuff out here. But as I got closer, my flashlight beam revealed something that made my rational mind short-circuit. The craft, because what else could I call it, was about the size of a small RV, but shaped like a teardrop that had been stretched and flattened. Its surface wasn't smooth. It was covered in what looked like scales or panels that shifted and moved like they were breathing. The metal, if it was metal, had an iridescent quality, shifting from deep purple to silver to colors I don't have names for. And there was damage. A long gash ran along one side, exposing internal components that pulsed with a soft blue light. Whatever this thing was, it was hurt. That's when I saw him.
He was leaning against the craft, and my first thought was that someone was injured from the crash. I ran over, my grandfather's rifle forgotten, dropped somewhere in the sand. It wasn't until I was about 10 feet away that my brain finally processed what I was seeing. He was humanoid. 2 arms, 2 legs, a head where you'd expect it to be, but that's where the similarities ended. His skin had a subtle luminescence, like moonlight on water. He was tall, maybe 7 feet, but proportioned differently than us. Longer limbs, a narrower torso. His fingers had an extra joint. But it was his face that made me stop breathing. Those mercury eyes I mentioned, they were set in a face that was almost human, but not quite. The angles were wrong, too sharp in some places, too smooth in others. When he looked at me, I felt like he was seeing through me, into me, past all the walls we build around ourselves. "Please," he said, and I understood him perfectly, even though his mouth didn't move the way it should have to form that word. "I need assistance." Now, let me tell you what's running through my mind at this moment. Every movie I'd ever seen, every story about alien abduction, every warning about stranger danger, it all screamed at me to run. But there was something else too, a feeling I can't quite describe, like recognition, like I was meant to be there at that moment, meeting him. "You're hurt," I said, which was probably the dumbest thing I could have said to an extraterrestrial being, but my brain wasn't exactly firing on all cylinders. He gestured to the gash in his ship. "Not me. My vessel. Without repair, I cannot continue. I should have called someone. The authorities, the military, someone. But looking at this being, seeing what I can only describe as vulnerability in those impossible eyes, I made a choice that would change my life forever. I'm a mechanic," I heard myself saying. "I fix things. Maybe I can help." The relief that crossed his features was unmistakably human, even if nothing else about him was. We spent the next hour carefully maneuvering components from his ship to my garage. And before you ask, no, they weren't heavy. They seemed to respond to intention more than physical force. When I focused on moving them, they became lighter. When I lost concentration, they became impossibly dense. As we worked, he told me his name, or rather the closest approximation my human vocal cords could manage, Ashran. He said he was what we might call an observer, though that translation didn't quite capture it. His role was to watch, to record, to understand developing civilizations. "How long have you been watching us?" I asked, as we carefully maneuvered what looked like a crystalline power source through my garage door. "In your time measurement," he paused, calculating, "approximately 4,000 of your years." I nearly dropped my end of the crystal. 4,000 years? Your people have been watching us for 4,000 years? "Not my people," he corrected. "Me. I have been watching for 4,000 years.
Over the next 3 days, we worked on his ship. And let me tell you something. If you think fixing a transmission is complicated, try repairing technology that operates on principles that shouldn't exist according to our physics. But here's the weird part. I could do it. Not because I suddenly understood alien technology, but because Ashran could somehow share his knowledge with me. Not telepathy exactly, more like a direct transfer of understanding. I would look at a damaged component, he would touch my shoulder, and suddenly I would know what it was supposed to do, how it was supposed to look. During those long hours in my garage, we talked. Or rather, he talked and I listened, because what he told me made everything I learned in Sunday school seem like a children's story, which, as it turns out, it kind of was. Your religious texts, he said one evening as I welded what he called a dimensional stabilizer back together. They contain truth, but filtered through limited understanding, like explaining quantum mechanics to a child using building blocks. So, God isn't real? I asked. And I'll admit, even as a lapsed Catholic, the question hurt to voice. The Creator is real, Ashran said, and there was reverence in his tone. More real than you can comprehend. But the story? The story is more complex than your books tell.
It was on the second night, as I was taking a break from welding, that Ashran began to tell me the real story. We were sitting outside my garage, looking up at the stars. Moses had gotten over his initial fear and was now lying at Ashran's feet, which should have been my first clue that this being meant no harm. Dogs know. Your scientists are close to understanding, he began. The Big Bang, as you call it, that was the moment of creation. But it wasn't random. It was spoken into being. By God? I asked. By the one you call God, yes. But here's what your texts don't tell you. Earth wasn't the first attempt. It wasn't even the 100th. He went on to explain that the universe was full of life, full of experiments in consciousness and free will. Each species, each world was a different approach to the same fundamental question. Could created beings choose to love their Creator? Earth is special, though, he said, his mercury eyes reflecting the stars. Your species is unique. How? I leaned forward, my coffee growing cold in my hands. You're only the ones who got it right, and the only ones who got it so catastrophically wrong. But before he could explain what he meant, Moses suddenly stood growling at something in the darkness. Ashran's expression changed. I'd never seen him afraid before, but this was definitely fear. They've found me, he whispered.
What emerged from the desert darkness still gives me nightmares. They looked similar to Ashran, but wrong, like someone had taken his species template and twisted it into something predatory. Their eyes weren't mercury, they were black, absorbing light rather than reflecting it. There were 3 of them, and they moved with a coordination that suggested they were communicating without speaking. Moses was barking frantically now, but he stayed between us and them. Brave, stupid dog that he was. Ashran, one of them spoke, and its voice was like grinding glass. You violated the covenant. You've revealed yourself to a primitive. He's not primitive. Ashran stood, moving protectively in front of me. And the covenant is built on lies. What happened next occurred so fast I almost missed it. The lead hunter raised something, a weapon, I assumed, but Ashran was faster. He pulled a device from his suit and activated it. A dome of light surrounded us, and when the hunter's weapons fired, the energy dissipated harmlessly against the barrier. Marcus, Ashran said urgently, not taking his eyes off the hunters. "I need you to trust me. What I'm about to show you, what I'm about to tell you, it's why they want me dead. It's why they've hunted me across half the galaxy." "Who are they?" I managed to ask, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might escape my chest. "The Watchers who want to remain Watchers. The ones who don't want humanity to know the truth about what you really are, about what's coming." The hunters continued their assault on the barrier, but I could see it was holding. Ashran turned to me, and for the first time I saw desperation in those alien features. "Your myths about fallen angels, they're not entirely wrong. Some of us fell, but not in the way you think. We fell in love, with humanity, with your potential. And some of us want to help you achieve it."
The barrier held for another hour while Ashran told me the story, the real story. "We were created first," he explained, "before physical matter, before worlds, before biological life. We were pure consciousness, what you might call angels, though that word doesn't quite capture it. Our purpose was to serve, to observe, to maintain the cosmic order. But then came the grand experiment, physical life, beings with bodies, with limitations, with mortality. And on Earth, something unprecedented happened. You evolved not just consciousness, but conscience, not just intelligence, but morality, not just awareness, but soul." The hunters had stopped their attack, but they remained outside the barrier, waiting. One of them spoke again. "Tell him the rest, Ashran. Tell him why we really watch." Ashran's expression darkened. "We watch because we're afraid of you." I laughed, actually laughed. "You're afraid of us? You can travel between stars, manipulate energy and matter, live for millennia, and you're afraid of humans?" "You don't understand what you are," Ashran said intensely. "Your species is the only one that carries the Creator's image in full. Not just consciousness, but creative power. Not just awareness, but the ability to shape reality itself through will and belief. You call them miracles when they happen, but they're glimpses of what you truly are. Every other species in the universe has limits built into their consciousness, safety protocols, you might say. But humans have no limits. Given enough time, enough knowledge, enough unity of purpose, your species could reshape the universe itself."
One of the hunters laughed, a sound like breaking crystal. "Tell him about the war, Ashran. Tell him about the choice we had to make." Ashran was quiet for a moment, then continued. "When your species first emerged, first showed signs of this unlimited potential, there was disagreement among the Watchers. Some believed you should be guided, helped to reach your potential. Others believed you were too dangerous, that you should be contained, limited, kept ignorant of your true nature. And some," he looked directly at the hunters, "believed you should be destroyed." "The war in heaven," I whispered, pieces clicking together in my mind. "The fallen angels. It was about us?" "Everything has always been about you.
The entire universe was created as a cradle for consciousness. But Earth was the only place where it fully flowered. You are the Creator's masterpiece, and that terrifies beings who thought they were." The lead hunter stepped forward, pressing against the barrier. "Enough of this heresy. Humanity is a mistake. They've proven it time and again. War, genocide, destruction of their own planet. They're a cancer that needs to be contained before it spreads." "No," Ashran said firmly. "They're children who need guidance, who need truth." "The truth would destroy them," the hunter snarled. "Imagine if they knew what they were capable of. Imagine the chaos."
"Wait," I interrupted their argument. "If all this is true, then what about the Bible? What about Jesus? Was that all just made up?" Ashran turned to me with something like sadness in his eyes. "No, Marcus. That's the most real part of all. The incarnation, what you call God becoming human, that was the turning point in the cosmic conflict." He explained that the appearance of the Christ was the Creator's answer to the debates about humanity. By entering physical form, experiencing limitation, suffering, and death, the Creator demonstrated that humanity's struggles weren't a bug, but a feature. The capacity for suffering was inextricably linked to the capacity for love, for growth, for transcendence. The resurrection, Ashran continued, wasn't just about defeating death. It was a demonstration of what humanity could become. Physical beings who could transcend physical limitations through spiritual evolution. "But that's not what our churches teach," I protested. "No," one of the hunters interjected mockingly. "They teach you to be sheep, to wait for salvation instead of claiming your birthright. And that's exactly how it should stay." Ashran's next words chilled me. "The institution of religion was infiltrated long ago, not by evil exactly, but by those who wanted to keep humanity humble, dependent, unaware of their true nature. Every time humans have approached breakthrough, the Library of Alexandria, the Renaissance, certain scientific discoveries, there have been efforts to suppress or redirect that knowledge." "By who?" I demanded. "By beings like you?" "By some of us, yes, and by humans who serve them, knowingly or unknowingly, but also by others who genuinely believe they are protecting humanity from itself."
As dawn approached, the hunters finally withdrew, but not before their leader issued a warning. "You have one Earth rotation, Ashran. Leave this world and never return, or we will end both you and your pet human." Once they were gone, Ashran deactivated the barrier and slumped against my garage wall. For the first time, he looked tired, worn, almost human in his exhaustion. "We need to finish the repairs," he said. "But first, I need to show you something." He led me to his ship and activated something inside. The damaged wall became transparent, revealing the interior. It wasn't what I expected. No control panels, no seats. Instead, the walls were covered with what looked like organic circuitry, pulsing with that soft blue light. But in the center was something that took my breath away.
It was a sphere about the size of a basketball, containing what looked like a miniature galaxy. Stars swirled, planets orbited, and I could see tiny flashes that might have been civilizations rising and falling. "This is why they hunt me," Ashran said. "It's a complete record of human history. Not the version you've been taught, but the true history. Every interaction between humanity and off-world beings, every suppressed discovery, every hidden truth." "Why?" I asked, unable to look away from the swirling cosmos. "Why keep this record?" "Because someday humanity will be ready for it. And when that day comes, they'll need to know their true story to take their place in the cosmic community." "When will that be?" Ashran looked at me with those mercury eyes. "Sooner than the hunters think. Your species is accelerating toward a convergence point. Technology, consciousness, global communication, it's all building toward something. Call it ascension, call it evolution, call it awakening, but it's coming now, and nothing can stop it now."
As I worked on the final repairs, Ashran told me the last and most shocking truth. "Your scientists talk about dark matter, dark energy, the invisible forces that make up most of the universe. Do you know what it really is?" I shook my head, focused on reconnecting what appeared to be organic cables. "It's consciousness, pure consciousness, the substrate upon which physical reality is projected. And humans are the only physical beings who can directly interface with it. What you call intuition, psychic abilities, miraculous healings, these are all examples of humans accidentally accessing the consciousness field. But here's what even most watchers don't know." He leaned closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. "The consciousness field isn't separate from the Creator. It is the Creator. You're literally swimming in God, breathing God, made of God. The illusion of separation is just that, an illusion necessary for free will to exist." I stopped working, my hands trembling. "So we're all God?" "No," Ashran corrected quickly. "You're all unique expressions of the one consciousness, like waves on an ocean. Individual, but not separate. And humans have the unique ability to be aware of both their individuality and their unity. That's what makes you dangerous and magnificent. The beings who want to control or destroy humanity, they're terrified of what happens when your species fully awakens to this truth. 7 billion conscious beings, all realizing they're connected, all capable of miracles, all understanding they're part of something infinite. It would change everything."
The ship was repaired. As Ashran powered it up, the air in my garage shimmered with energy. Moses whined and pressed against my leg. We both knew our strange friend was leaving. But then alarms started sounding from the ship. Not mechanical alarms, but something organic, almost like screaming. Ashran's face went pale, paler than usual anyway. "They're coming back," he said. "Not just the 3, all of them. A full extermination squad." He looked at me with something I'd never seen in his eyes before. Defeat. "I'm sorry, Marcus. I've doomed you. They won't let you live with what you know." "Then take me with you," I said without thinking. "I can't. The ship won't support human physiology for long-distance travel. You'd die before we cleared your solar system." That's when something occurred to me. Something crazy, impossible, but maybe. You said humans can interface with consciousness directly, that we can affect reality through will and belief. Theoretically, yes, but no but. I grabbed his arm. His skin felt like cool silk. If what you told me is true, if we really are what you say we are, then maybe I don't need to run. Maybe none of us do. I closed my eyes and did something I hadn't done since I was a child. I prayed, but not the rehearsed prayers of my Catholic upbringing. I reached out with everything I was, every fiber of my being, toward the consciousness field that Ashran had described. And I felt it, like stepping into an ocean of light, like coming home, like remembering something I'd always known but forgotten. When I opened my eyes, Ashran was staring at me in shock, because I was glowing, not metaphorically, literally glowing with the same soft light as his ship's power source. "Impossible," he breathed. "It takes centuries of meditation, of practice. Or just the absolute certainty that you're about to die, and the desperate belief that there has to be another way."
The extermination squad never came. Ashran later explained that my spontaneous connection to the consciousness field had sent out a kind of pulse, a signal that was picked up by monitoring stations throughout the galaxy. In that moment, I had proven what Ashran and others like him had argued for millennia, that humanity was ready. Not all humanity, not yet, but the potential was there, activated, undeniable. "The debate is over," Ashran told me as he prepared to leave. "The evidence is incontrovertible. Humanity will be protected, allowed to develop naturally toward their awakening." What am I supposed to do now? I can't just go back to fixing cars and pretending this didn't happen. Yes, you can, and you should. But also, he handed me a small device, no bigger than a USB drive, but made of the same shifting metal as his ship. Record everything. Share it when you feel the time is right. Others have had experiences like yours. Find them, connect them, help prepare the way. Prepare for what? For the revelation. It won't come from us. It can't. It has to come from within humanity itself. But it's coming. In your lifetime, Marcus, the veil is thinning. The separation is ending, and when humanity realizes what it truly is, he smiled, and for the first time it looked genuinely human. The universe will never be the same.
That was 3 months ago. Ashran's ship lifted off my property without a sound, just a shimmer of light, and then gone. Moses and I stood there in the pre-dawn darkness, watching the stars, both of us forever changed. I've gone back to fixing cars. My regular customers have no idea that their mechanic spent 3 days repairing an alien spacecraft and learning the true history of human existence. But sometimes someone comes into my shop and I see it in their eyes. That look of someone who's seen behind a curtain, who knows there's more to reality than what we're told. To those people, I sometimes tell pieces of this story. Testing the waters, planting seeds. And I'm finding there are more of us than you'd think. People who've had experiences, seen things, know things. We're connecting, sharing, preparing. The device Ashran gave me contains terabytes of information I'm still working through. Historical records, scientific principles decades ahead of our current understanding, and most importantly, instructions for developing humanity's latent abilities. I share what I can, when I can, with those who are ready. But here's what I want you to understand. Whether you believe my story or not, the fundamental message remains true. You are more than you've been told. You're not a cosmic accident, not a meaningless collection of atoms in an indifferent universe. You're a conscious being with unlimited potential, connected to everything and everyone in ways that science is only beginning to understand. The controllers, whether they're human or otherwise, maintain their power by keeping us divided, afraid, and ignorant of our true nature. But that's changing. Can you feel it? The acceleration towards something new? The breakdown of old systems, the increasing awareness that reality isn't what we thought?
It's happening. The awakening Ashran spoke of. And each of us who remembers, who connects, who claims our birthright as conscious co-creators of reality, we're part of it. So, what will you do with this information? Dismiss it as the ravings of a desert mechanic who spent too much time in the sun? Or will you consider, just consider, that maybe, just maybe, everything you've been told about what you are and what's possible has been just a fraction of the truth? The choice, as always, is yours. But choose quickly. Because if Ashran was right, we're running out of time to be afraid and running into time to be amazing. If you've had experiences you can't explain, if you've felt that connection to something greater, if you know in your bones that there's more to this existence than we're told, leave a comment. Share your story. Find others like you. Because we're not alone. We never have been. And the sooner we realize that, the sooner we can become what we were always meant to be. The question isn't whether you believe me. The question is, what are you going to do now that you know? Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And remember, you're more powerful than you know. Stay curious, stay connected, and stay tuned. Because this is just the beginning.